And joining me for my coaching story today is Kate Muldoon. How are you, Kate?
Hey, Brad, really well, thanks. Yourself?
Fantastic. Now, if you hadn't guessed by Kate's accent, we're traveling all the way to Victoria, Australia. Kate, tell me, I start with everyone on this coaching journey with asking the question about what is it about coaching? What's the thing that got you in or keeps you in coaching?
Well, it's the people, I guess, Brad. You know, we're definitely a business of working with people. So it's just, and the privilege, I guess, that it is to really get inside their, not just their businesses, but also their lives. So it truly is a privilege. It's not, if you think you're coming in to fix businesses, you're wrong. You're coming in to fix lives and support people to create better lives and lifestyles for themselves. So yeah, it's just a great privilege, Brad.
You know, it's interesting when you think about it, people have invested almost their life savings or their entire life savings in their business, and their economic future depends on it. And when you help them with their economic future, you help them with every area of their life. Any particular fun stories of that in your coaching background? Because I know you've had so many clients. It's like, is there one or two that stand out?
Yeah, so there's one particular business, a joinery company that we've worked with for a couple of years, and they had been in business or have been in business for 22 years. And him in particular, he's a tradie, and you know, his confidence in himself and his capabilities and in what he'd already built just was pretty non-existent. Beautiful wife working in the business, all of the she believes in him and continues to believe in him wholly and solely. And he had never really recognized what was possible by recognizing his true value and worth. And once they started to implement the right pricing structures and you know, making choices for themselves as human beings, and then driving the business towards those choices rather than just getting up and going to work and doing it because you do. And then, yes, I know they've just bought some very significant toys for themselves. So he's a mad keen motorbike rider, and so is his young son. And so they've just bought a toy hauler and a 200 series Land Cruiser, which they never believed that they could do, to go adventuring. And they're going to pack up and rack off because the business is starting to run without them very soon. So this is stuff, he's been in this for 22 damn years, just slugging his guts out. And now they're off to do that. So that warms the cockles of my heart, Brad.
You know, I love the fact that as chairman of the company, I sit back and I hear these stories, and you get to live it firsthand. I get to live vicariously through you and the other team members at Action Coach. But let's go back pre-coaching or pre-becoming a coach, because you were sort of, coaching has been in your nature, but let's talk about your career prior to coaching. What led you to doing business coaching?
Well, I'd always say it was a beautiful accident, in fact. So I've got a nursing background. I nursed clinically for 8 years and then moved into leadership and management. And I landed on a job in a healthcare organisation where I was coaching the executive team and as well as the people at the cold face, so the nurses as well. So I was very lucky to get an up and down view of an organisation of 3,500 people. So coaching the CEO right down to, you know, the cleaners and the other people in the organisation. So I was a palliative care nurse when I was clinical. So I guess the communication skills that came from that experience have really served me well, because you have to be able to ask people the hard questions when they're at end of life. And coaching them to the right decisions for themselves at end of life. So I guess I never at the time recognized that this was the path I was going to take. So I was doing this coaching gig in healthcare, and I was coached by an action coach at the time, the beautiful Paul Henshaw, who I will be forever indebted to. And he supported me to land a gig as a healthcare coach in a business that did healthcare coaching. I ran into my coaching session all excited and said, "Paul, thank you so much. You've helped me get where I need to go." And he said, no, you need to do what we do. So then that was a mind spin for me, because at that time, my confidence, I guess, in myself was probably not that high. I was excited that I was on a path that I knew was going to help and impact a lot of people. But I probably never recognized what he recognized in me, which was that I could be a good business coach. So,
there's a very big side to business coaching that most people don't understand, and that is that human side, and nurses, teachers. I know we have a lot of action coaches that come from the medical backgrounds, nursing in particular, a lot of teachers of that, because they get that how to coach humans side of it. And the business side of it is something that we can easily, through the systems of action, pick up. So
that's right.
When you think about, the team that you're building, because you're not just working with your clients, you're building your own business as well. When you think about the team you're building, one of the things you do with your clients is build community. Tell me more about why you bring your clients together and why your team builds such a community of business owners.
I guess, Brad, one of the one-liners that our clients always say to each other when they're doing their takeaways at the end of a group coaching session, they'll always say, "Oh, the power of the group. That's what I'm taking away, is the power of the group." And essentially what they're saying is the power of the community. They love each other more than they love us, Brad. And, we can let that, damage our egos a little bit, and we can feel a bit, they're really just here for each other. But that is the most powerful thing that you can create as a human being, I think, is a safe place where people recognize the challenges and the opportunities in other people, and therefore for themselves. So that's the beautiful thing about building the community, and why I encourage our team as well to keep doing that, and fanning the flames of that community, and growing it, because they need each other just as much as they need us. They need to see a mirror reflection of a human being that they could be, or they need to be the mirror for somebody else.
Now, one of your clients wrote a little note about how one of the things that really worked for them in that community is they saw someone who was a couple of years down the road, like someone like they'd just joined and someone was 2 years down the road. Tell me more about that process of the new clients meeting the older clients, sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's a sense of hope. So and that's, I think, what coaching is all about, is you're providing this sense of hope. And I think often in our diagnostic meetings or our strategy sessions, that when you're looking to bring a new client on board, that moment that you see in them where the hope clicks in, and so they become more hopeful in seeing that or hearing that. We've got a podcast, for example, from other people who are just like them.
Yeah.
Our concreting client who won best client results last year for Australia, New Zealand at ActionCOACH. When I met him and his young family 3 years ago, they weren't making any money. They were renting. They were battling, Brad, like they were true battlers in every sense of the word. And now they're making, they've got over $1 million company. They've bought their dream home in their little town, and they look at him and go, geez, I wish I had started 3 years ago when he did, for a start. But they see hope, and that's what we provide every day. Like it's a cool thing.
Yeah. When you think about that, not only do you give that to them, but you also give that to your team, because you're employing people that were like you, doing coaching in some way, but now you're building a team of business coaches. How does that feel to be having other people doing the coaching, and now you've sort of regenerated it? Like, because by yourself, you can only do so many people, but now you're reaching hundreds and hundreds. That must feel pretty good.
It does feel good. Again, it's one of those things that I think more coaches need to think more about more impact. I don't think I think we start thinking about ourselves and, it's nice to feel good about helping people. But then you get to a point where you're like, I can't help enough people. I can't do this by myself. So I guess the way that I look at the coaches that I bring into my business is they've got to be hungry, and they've got a system. I knew nothing about business, Brad. I knew people really well, but I didn't know business. So when people say, but I'm just like slap yourself around the head a little bit, because it actually doesn't matter. And I'm a pretty classic example of how the Action Coach community and system, as long as you got that and you do as you're told for a start when you start out, and don't believe that you're bigger than the system, because you're bloody not. That's what we like watching the team. And I say the girls, and not in a derogatory way, because I have an all-female team. Just do what you got to do. Put the human element first, and you can't go wrong. So, and watching them do that and care for these people, and watching them then grow those businesses. One of our new coaches, Shayna, she's running her own group coaching program at the moment. It's an 18-week program, and she's nailing it. And watching her grow through that and make a few mistakes, but then understand and grow and learn from it. But you sit there going, oh my God, this was me 3 years ago. And so, yeah, it's a cool thing, because you're growing them and increasing their opportunity as well.
Yeah. And I love that when you say that was me back there. That was me. But I always think, that was me 28 years ago doing that and having that result. And I think one of the more important things that two of your clients touched on is that they don't feel lonely anymore. Tell me more about that, because I think that's a really important aspect of what you're bringing to these business owners.
Yeah, so business is a lonely place, and we don't feel that loneliness necessarily as a business coaching organization, because we've got each other at Action Coach. So we're lucky there. But if you're not a franchisee and you're swimming out there just hoping for the best, it's a bit of a spray and pray kind of approach to business. Especially the people I work with, they're tradies, and they're really good at what they do, and they accidentally become business owners. They don't know what they don't know. They don't always even know the right questions to ask in the first place. Therefore, it is very isolating and very, very lonely. So coming back to that power of the group thing, our tradies in particular, the blokes, so we work with couples mostly, they will often say, it's so good to hear there's other blokes going through the same that I'm going through.
Yeah.
So that loneliness disappears, and that recognition that, I'm actually not doing too bad a job. I'm having a crack. I'm trying to be better. And that's the only ingredients that I need to be a good business owner. So that it just disappears when they see other people just like them. And they hear, I suppose, our stories, our human stories that bring that connectedness too. Yeah. And I think that's really important for business coaches to do, is to bring the vulnerability to the table. Yeah. You don't bring your own vulnerability. Why the heck should they bring theirs? Yeah, very much so. So when you mentioned at the start of that comment about Action Coach, because our community is a big part of the success of all of us. I mean, I always say the reason Action Coach is where it is because we recruit the best and we build the best. Let's talk about education just for a moment, because you spend a lot of time educating your clients, but you also spend a lot of time getting your own education. Let's touch on both those sides for me. Yeah, so as far as my own education goes, I pretty much try to take every opportunity that Action Coach dishes up to me. So I've been really grateful to attend, the business excellence forums, their online training. I'm doing executive coaching at the moment, which has been great. Retraining, once you've already trained, retraining. I've invested a lot in my own sort of personal development along the way. So I've pretty much had 2 coaches minimum at all times. So I really, you've got to practice what you preach, have your own coach. At one point I had 4. So I think growing yourself is, you can only grow the clients that you work with as far as you're prepared to grow yourself. So it's really interesting when you start to feel they start to catch up in some elements, and you go, oh shit, I need to educate myself again. Because you've done such a great job as their coach in getting them to a point and making them read and getting them moving on some stuff that you say, okay, it's time for me to lift my game in that area of business again. So you have to be in that constant state of learning and love it, and just be thirsty for more knowledge, because they will only be as good as you are.
Yeah.
So again, it's that look in the mirror a bit. What is being reflected back to you from your clients? If you're getting a reflection back, they're stuck somewhere. What are you stuck in yourself as a coach? Because if you're stuck on something for yourself, they're going to get stuck too. So something
very much the case. And I know within our organization, there's literally so much training that a lot of coaches go, there's too much, I want to stop. But, ultimately the fire hose of knowledge is there at any point in time for when you need that segment, whether it's the online stuff or offline. So let's then look at community, because your community you build for your clients helps them. How does the Action Coach community help you, and in turn then help your clients?
Yeah, so there isn't a person in our organization who hasn't experienced or been through a scenario that you're going through with your clients. So knowing that you kind of can chuck a question into our Facebook community or pick up the phone to one of your mates in the Action Coach community at any time is very reassuring. In the early days for me, where I was very green and just, making a lot of stuff up as I went, along with the system, I'd have a session, I'd have to go into the dashboard and have a read and go, oh, heck, what do I have to know about this thing? But knowing that there'll be anybody on the end of the line who will pick up the phone globally. And it's been a real privilege to have people reach out and ask me questions from all over the globe. And it's just, it's the reassurance and the safety, I guess, of having the numbers, because unlike our business owners, they are alone, we're not alone. So anything that you are unsure about, you'll be able to access somebody who can support you. And I've never once had anybody go, oh no, too busy, Muldoon, I'm not interested in talking to you. So that's a cool thing.
I think that's the advantage of having an organization full of business coaches. Everyone in their heart of hearts loves helping. So it's that whole thing. So let's finish up. Someone who's contemplating making the decision of, hiring a coach, joining a coaching team, becoming a part of Action Coach. How do you, because you chose to join the company, you've also had lots of people join your team and you've had lots of clients join you. How do you coach them through that decision-making process? What's your thinking around that one?
I guess that it's asking yourself some pretty core questions along the lines of a lot of what we've touched on today. It's recognizing, am I somebody who at my heart of hearts wants to help over above all else, before making money, before all of that? Do you genuinely, don't just cop out and let your ego get in the way. Do you truly want to help? So asking yourself that first, is that what you're geared to do? The second thing is, are you willing to be humble for a long time? And eat, you got to drink the Kool-Aid. You can't just come believing that all of your experience is enough. Because if you believe that you're bigger than this thing and bigger than the businesses that you're going to coach, and you come with too much bravado, you will not succeed. So I think the greatest thing you can do coming in is be open to the learning, be very, very humble. Do not believe you are bigger than the system or better than the system, and you can make something that's greater than the system, because you're wrong. So
look,
be humble.
It's pretty hard to, because a business coach is someone who has to be a leader, but also has to be a part of the team. It's that balancing act. And our clients and your clients are the same way. In their own world, they're the boss. In their own world, they're the leader of the team. But when they come join Action Coach, they have to oh, dang, I didn't know that stuff. Because it's sometimes I find business owners struggle with having a coach, because they're like, well, I should know this stuff. And no, you shouldn't know it. You learned how to be a plumber, no one taught you how to build a plumbing business. There's two different things. So Kate Muldoon, amazing stuff on your coaching story. Thank you so much for joining us here today and really appreciate your time.
Cheers, Brad. Thanks, everyone.